A and S.
It's time to play the music.
I imagine walking onto the set of The Muppet Show, See You Boulder edition, and stopping in my tracks at the sight of Eric Small, transformed into a Jim Henson Muppet. His arms flail and his mouth opens wide to the Colorado sky in an explosion of excitement and laughter. As he settles, I imagine Muppet Eric ducks out of camera and jumps back as his human self, just as joyful and ready to move into action. Dearest Anders, I know many of you want to wish this version of The Muppet Show into being, but have hope. Eric Small, while very much a real human, might, if you look with the right frame, in fact, be a Muppet.
Show. Voted the best show in the world out of all the shows hosted by frogs. But first, an opening number.
I can't imagine Eric happier than deep in a snow hole outside of Cresta Butte. On today's episode, Eric dives into his hydrology research, his love of visual art, performing music, parenting, and a word I'm now obsessed with, ground truthing. In our conversation, Eric not only elaborates on what ground truthing means, but why this truthing of the ground matters to our water systems. He also helps us vividly experience his science and the way the earth smells when you first strike dirt under the snow. On the Ampersand, we call this bringing together of the impossible the alchemy of anding. Together, we'll hear stories of humans who imagine and create by colliding their interests. Rather than thinking of and as a simple conjunction in that conjunction-junction kind of way, we will hear stories of people who see and as a verb, a way to speak the beautiful when you intentionally let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. As St. Mary Oliver asks, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? Oh, I love this question. When I'm mothering, creating, and collaborating, it reminds me to replace a singular idea of what I think I should become with a full sensory verb about experiencing. I'm Erika Randall, and this is Eric Small on the Ampersand.
The one time I did get caught. So here was the trick. Okay. In my house where I grew up, it was an older house.
Okay, in New York.
And
not the city.
No, in the suburbs. You'd have to climb a flight of stairs to get up to the bedrooms.
Okay.
And my parents' bedroom was at the top of the stairs. And the stairs were creaky.
Yeah.
And you'd stand on it. You kind of knew where you could stand, but still, there was no way to make it up these stairs without creak.
You're getting busted.
Getting busted. Mm-hmm. Luckily, my father was a snorer. So I would wait for the and then I would step. But the problem was he was not a rhythmic snorer. So you'd have to be on one leg, ready to step onto the other, and you'd wait for the and then you'd step. And so I would use this to get back into the house at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., whatever it took. And I did get caught once when I went out the side door at midnight.
Who were you visiting?
Her first name was Sherry. I can't remember her last name right now. She was my high school girlfriend. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
We're just going to leave Sherry. It's not that you don't remember, but just to protect the innocent, we're going to leave Sherry.
I was the innocent. Thank you very much. Someone should have protected me. But
Sherry from the block.
Yeah, right. So I snuck out, and when I came back in, the dog had gotten out because the screen door hadn't latched.
Oh, the dog totally
and he howled
screwed you.
He did. He screwed me. Mm-hmm. And instead of screwing the pooch screwed me. And from three blocks away, this dog never barked at anyone ever in his whole life, except that one night. Three barks away. And I'm getting closer. I'm like, oh my God. And I get to the house and I grab the dog, and my mother comes out, I think. And I was like, did you hear him barking? She's like, yeah. And I was like, well, I came out to get him. I don't know how he got out. And she's like, why are you dressed if you just...
Dun, dun, dun.
And I was caught with, yes.
The bottle cap.
Yeah.
But it was a dog that busted you in
Dog
that moment.
busted me, yeah.
But you have a dog now, is that why?
I do. Well, it's a very different dog. Okay. The current dog is more of a therapy, warm pillow-like thing. He's halfway between animal and stuffed animal. And
is he like a Muppet?
He's very much like a Muppet.
Okay, did you pick him because you're like a Muppet? I think that you are such a Muppet. I can't even get over it. I really wish that people listening could just see everything about your facial expressions. You are doing a really good job keeping your arms under wraps, but usually it's like this,
well, that's
explosion.
Because this microphone is in front of me.
We're in a tiny house.
We're in a tiny house. Well, but we could fit 9 of us.
Okay,
in
Muppet.
Yep.
So in your fozziness, is that because of your there's a play in you? There's a play playfulness that helps drive your questioning? Or is your questioning separate from that kind of light playfulness that I love about you?
Well, I can't not be playful.
You can't not be.
How could I not be playful?
Well, because the planet is dying and you study things that let us know the water is drying up in the world, and that you let us, like, you have access to data that says it's getting hard out there for a bear.
It is getting hard out there for some bears.
For some bears.
But for other bears, it might be getting easier.
See what you just did there? That's what I'm saying. Like, you have this ability to, like, see, I don't know if it's balance or it's dimension. It's like to see things from a complex space.
The answers aren't simple.
They're not yes or no.
They're not yes or no.
No.
And anytime you pose the question as a yes or no answer, it will fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So is that the way that you ask questions that are more open-ended and then can take you anywhere? Do you think that's why you went into science, or do you think that science found you because of... talk to me.
I think science found me because that was not my vision. My vision was not science. My vision was most definitely not science. My vision was music.
Yeah.
And I was steered towards science. And I think I just had skills that allowed me to excel in science more than I would have perhaps in music or art.
You?
I would say first my parents, and I feel that the path I took worked well given my personality and my skills, and I don't know that was the case for my brothers.
But you all were competitive around music, around sports, around
everything. Everything. What would we not have been competitive around? So, for example, when we would bring pizza home,
I was going to say food. I was just about to say, were you competitive about food?
The rule was you had to finish your piece of pizza before you could take the next one. But everyone was always eyeing what's the next best piece. And you could only take from the empty places.
What defines? Is it the most sliced pepperoni? Is it more cheese or the bubble in the crust?
I don't think it was the bubble in the crust. I think it was probably the sausage on the pizza or the size of the slice. And we just had this unspoken rule that you would never take a piece from the inside. You'd have to take one of the next pieces.
Oh my God, it was a game. It was.
So if one of the next pieces was small or undesirable somehow, you would go slower. But if the next piece was good, you would go faster.
This is exhausting.
No, this was what we did.
This is what you did. What did your mother do?
She rolled with it. She would roll. She did not micromanage that. She did not micromanage a lot.
Except for your career from...
Well, I think there wasn't a lot of micromanaging. And I think that had to be the case. Can you imagine having... My younger brother was a fair bit younger, but two teenage boys in high school, like full on. And you just got to just roll with it. And a big golden retriever. And yeah.
Your brother was a big golden retriever?
Yeah, right. He was yeah.
That was his Muppet identity. Okay. When I was reading your abstract for nature, is that what you were writing?
Oh, that one. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I was reading about it, and I had been reading at other things on the internet around snow density and about there was an acronym I was going to try to remember about water to snow exchange rate.
SWE. 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 Yeah. Snow water equivalent.
Snow water. So I was I was like learning all and I love language, and I'm reading all this language, and I'm getting really curious. And it does not make me want to go in a snow hole and measure and do the ground truthing of what is the actual data, compare it to the satellite data. It does not make me want to sit with those charts that were in that. But I got real curious and I got really excited and I wanted to talk to you about it. But I was like, no, see, not a scientist.
But there's two axes. Well, there's many axes, but there's two primary axes. One is this ability to think and get interested and look at it from different angles. And the other, which I'm not necessarily good at, is the personality trait of carefully making measurements over and over again. That for me is a struggle.
I don't put lids on things. I don't fill the coffee up the same. My wife is always like, really? That it says 6. You have to fill it to the. I'm like, it's.
So you could not want to go and dig a snow pit, and make all the measurements.
I don't want to do that.
But in a minute, I'm going to try to convince you that you do want to do that.
I can't wait for that. Is that time here yet, or no? Really?
No, it's in a second.
It's in a second.
Because some scientists are amazing at carefully collecting the data. every little detail is being checked. And they just keep progressing through the planned research. And at the end, they've amassed this data set that, if designed originally ahead of time, will reveal some sort of answer that no one had before.
Amazing.
That's not,
kind of your ish to that.
I can force myself to do it when necessary.
Okay.
And as a grad student, I had to do that.
You had to do
I had to do that because no one else was going to do it. That was my job. And now, as someone who's progressed through my career, most of the time I'm not looking at the individual trees in the forest.
Okay.
And the grad students are, or some of my collaborators are.
But you've sent me pictures from the snow hole.
Oh, I'll go and do that.
Okay.
But I don't go to do it because I despise digging the snow pit and making the measurements. But when you're out there, it's like a very different experience than you could have doing anything else, because you are there all day. You cannot leave till you're done, regardless of the weather, regardless of if you're tired or hungry. And the sun is moving across the sky. The weather is changing. And you just experience it in a different way than you ever would if you just wanted to visit the same place as a tourist. As a tourist, you'd ski on up there or snowshoe up there. You'd have your snack.
You'd snap a picture, be like, this is what this place looks like, period.
Yeah. Right. But it looks different in an hour. And then it really looks different in 3 hours. And then the other thing, what we get to do is we get to go to the bottom of that snow pit and smell the forest floor. And the thing is, because it's been blanketed by snow for months, so it's this like concentrate. It's like an aged wine. You pull off the cork, which is the snow, and you're like, every snow pit smells differently. If you're in a forest, it smells different than a meadow. Yes. See, now in my head. Yeah. What do you think I see? Like, because I'm doing something. You see one of the Muppets at the bottom of a snow pit? No, because I would be like, but no, I have like these perfect different glass vials with corks with the name of like mountain, no. Like I have then I have like prairie, no. I have deep aspen, no. Like it's like cologne name. Like that's where I am. I'm like already, I'm branding it, I'm naming it, I'm selling it. That's on in the store. Sounds great. That's where my brain goes. Okay, your brain says, dig the snow pit, get the huff, get the data, zoom back out, learn the thing, save the planet, make sure there's going to be enough water. Sure. So yes. What does your brain do? What does my brain do? Actually, and then it's like says, almost a minute, and you're going to convince me. What my brain does is say, in order for the graduate students to have a complete experience, and for the undergraduates to have a complete experience, they must go out and dig a snow pit and actually put their fingers in the snow and experience it at the different levels and make the temperature measurements and the water content measurements. And then they have to do it again. Because once you do it again and again and again, you see how variable it is and how challenging it is to take all that stuff in nature and try to summarize it in your scientific results and then write about it in a paper. So personally, I don't need to go dig another snow pit. I've smelled the forest floor. Yeah. I like the smell of the forest floor. I could always go back and smell more. Yes, I could go back for that. And I could go back for the long day. You like the long day? I like the long day with the colleagues, with the students, with the friends, with the light changing, with the weather changing. I like the removal from society otherwise. You don't get distracted when you're there. You're not thinking. Much less distracted. At one of our primary research sites, when we started, there was no cell phone coverage. And it was great. You would just turn your phone off and you would just work all day. And the time changed. The way you experience time and everything changed. And then at the end of the day, you'd get back to the car and you'd put your phone on and be like, oh, okay. Erika, she texted me. And you have texted me. And I have texted you when you come back from it. And now, of course, they keep putting up more cell towers and you get more. So it changes the experience. You have to go further away or get deeper into the snow pit or something. But that's part of it, too. It's just a change in how you spend a day. They're the longest days. But good long. Oh, good long. Well, and bad long. And hard long, I'm sure. Hard long and bad long and good long and memorable. And that is my favorite new word that I said, oh, Eric, is this ground truthing? Right? Not everyone knows it. Can you, for our listeners, just talk about that? Because I know it has a lot of different contexts. It does have a lot of different contexts. So one context would be going out into the field to a remote site, a local site, and making measurements on the ground. And these should be the most reliable measurements because you are there. And what you're doing is you're ground truthing a measurement that would be made from space or from an airplane. So you put some sort of sensor on an airplane or on a satellite.
So there's a context.
Yeah, and you're making a measurement, but that measurement is very indirect, right? And someone has taken that measurement, which could be like a radiance, a measurement of brightness, and they've turned it into something like physically meaningful in hydrology or geology, like snow-water equivalent.
Yes. SWE.
But there were there were many steps between that satellite measurement and the final physical parameter that you care about. So the ground truthing is going out there and making the measurement that's most closely related to that physical parameter.
So that human practice is still the most reliable.
Yeah. Well, it should be. It should be, but there are challenges when you do that.
Yeah, when there's ground fibbing.
Ground fibbing. You have to choose the spot where you're going to measure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every spot's different. So you have to choose enough spots. You have to choose them in an objective fashion, right? It's often very difficult to get to the spots you've planned when you were looking at the computer screen. And you're like, oh, we have to go over there. Oh, no, my snowshoe's already falling off and I'm hungry.
It's like how people ended up in Colorado instead of California.
Yeah, they're like, this is good enough. Yeah, we're not going over any more mountains. Yeah.
When you got into science, but then you're really into snow and water, right? How did that become? Was it because you had a mentor? What got you into that part of the?
So it was a circuitous path.
Yeah.
And when I started, there were people I was working with, and they were doing certain things. I was like, "That's cool. Let me look into this." Okay. And then
this was graduate school.
It was graduate school, and that overlapped with some other things, where I was like, "Oh, these people are doing something different. Let me study that for a while." And then I was working with a new set of colleagues and students, and studying climate. And I was like, this is really fascinating. And then as I moved to become a professor, I first studied ecosystems and soil and water and soil. And then that transitioned into studying snow and snow melt and stream flow. Yeah. So it's just been one thing connects to the next. The hydrologic cycle, at some point I will have been like a water molecule and gone all the way around. I haven't studied the ocean very much. And I think maybe as it ends, I will flow to the ocean and just be part of it all.
I hope so for all of us. Okay, is it time now for you to convince me about how the thing you were going to convince me of? You said it was only a minute, but we just talked for 4.5, that you were going to convince me that I could be a scientist?
I was going to convince you that you should go to a snow pit. Oh. No, not that you should be a scientist.
Okay, good.
No. You shouldn't be a scientist.
But I'll go to a snow pit.
You should somewhat, yeah.
I'll come to a snow pit.
Yeah, they're not hard to get to.
No.
And they're fun to dig. Do you like digging?
I do like digging.
I love digging.
Yeah. I have with my wife dug the same hole twice for a tree. And it was frustrating the second time because we realized the first hole was too close to the house. Oh. So digging the same hole twice, you do that all the time.
So each year when we're done with our season, which usually is 4 or 5 visits, each visit to the site is like 2 to 2.5 days with 6 to 8 people, full days. At the end of the season, we have removed from these pits a mass of snow that's equal to about 4 or 5 blue whales. I know. Picture a blue whale, can you?
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, not volume. This is the mass of the blue whale. But we have all season to do it. And then after you've made
But you don't tell them before you start, you're about
to move a bunch of blue whales off this mountain. Well, if you're smart.
You don't start with that, do you? Because I'd be like, nope.
Well,
I am not going to move an ocean of snow whales.
Exactly. We do at the end. We say, "Wow, we really dug a lot of pits."
Yeah.
Yeah. In this ground truthing, because we can't just dig one pit, because when you dig that next pit, you get a different answer.
You get a different answer. So you need to get enough different answers.
Right. And we try to stick to our design that we set up years ago. Keep it consistent. Keep making measurements. Yep. And if we do that enough, the answers are revealed, or at least the best answer you can come up with.
The best answer you can come up with. And this is what I love about the way that I'm understanding your research as well, is that the best answer for X amount of dollars. Okay, this is what kind of blew my mind about your research, and I want you to say it in the right way, because I'm thinking about this your abstract that I read, and I had never imagined, and this has come up in a couple other interviews with scientists, how important money is.
Well, let me tell you, Erika, last night I was writing a proposal to the Bureau of Reclamation with one of my colleagues.
The Bureau of Reclamation is also, you've told me this before. I'm like, you have so many potential memoir titles. And the Bureau of Reclamation is one of my favorite ones.
And it's funny because on my way to the studio here, I drove past the Reclamation Church, which is like a mile to the east of here.
See, the Bureau of Reclamation. I mean, that's a band name too, dude.
Bureau of Reclamation.
Yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, back at the Bureau of Reclamation.
But it is about the dollars because you need to convince someone who works for the federal government, usually, that the work you're going to do will provide the best answers for the amount of money that they're spending.
That's right.
Yeah. It's got to have value.
It's got to have value.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of our listeners are like, how do you two know each other? and this whole thing about like, what is the best answer for this amount of money? That is how we know each other. Like we really.
That is how we know each other. What is the best answer
what is the best
for this amount of money?
This amount of money. This is why you're my guy.
But isn't that always the question?
No, it's not. Because some people, what is the best answer for me? What is the best answer for this population, period? And they don't go for an extra parameter. I love a little friction, right? I love it. It helps me think better. It helps me get actually out of what is the answer I wish could be, or what is the best possible thing ever? No, I want it to have a little more. And you operate like that.
Well, you've got to be practical. You have to be pragmatic.
Yeah, I've never called myself pragmatic or practical, but
Erika.
I know, but I've never used that word. So I
pragmatism.
I know. I think I got a lot of it.
Yeah, you have to in your position.
Yeah, and it just even in the land of dance, like I can't just go, oh, I want to make a piece about, because you have $2. So I want to make a piece about for $2. And so I think actually that has helped me as an administrator make really hard decisions because I understand that I'm making shapes like a tight little box with my hand. And you do this really well. And that's what your research, you have to do it in your research.
Now, in the dance world, aren't you implicitly being pragmatic about the human body? Don't you have to say, well, I would love to do something
but gravity.
But there's gravity and there's the human body.
Yeah, but that's when you like go, no, okay, then I can't fly. I can learn how to do 4 pirouettes and use that sense of.
And that's what we do when we're writing a proposal or doing the science. It's like, well, we can't do that because that's not practical given reasonable budgets. But let's do this, which is really darn cool as well.
Which is really darn cool as well.
So in this proposal for the Bureau of Reclamation, we came up with a new idea and we needed some words to describe it. We were never satisfied. We were trying to identify places in a landscape, in a drainage basin, that matter for stream flow, but that are currently unmonitored. There's no way to know where they are now.
But they exist.
They exist.
You know they exist.
We know they exist from some satellite data, but that's just snapshots in time. But we wanted to come up with a name for them, and we wanted to we were calling them hotspots as we were writing this proposal. Hotspots is the worst name ever because we're talking about snow.
Yeah.
So then we were like hot pockets.
No.
And then I think we spent 2 days just laughing about Hot Pockets. Yeah.
Have you heard the hot?
Yeah, and then we watched all the Hot Pocket songs. Yeah.
Okay, good.
And we ended up just sticking with hot spots.
Do you tell your kids about your work? Do you share? Do they know about Hot Pockets?
They know a sliver.
Okay.
Yes, and I try not to talk about science at home.
You talk about art at home.
I like to talk about art at home, but I don't like to talk about work at home. Yeah. Partly because if I'm really into it, if I'm really focused, then I can't be like a normal human. It's terrible. Yeah. The better for me.
Because you've said that like parenting really changed part of the trajectory of your scientisting.
Yeah. If I want it, like the best Eric scientist is probably the worst, like in the house human.
Oh yeah.
Worst parent, because my brain, when I'm really into it, when I'm into the project or the problem or the challenge, then it's like, stop, don't bother me.
Yeah. Everything else is annoying.
Everything else is annoying because like I have the cycle is going on in my head. Yeah. And if it gets interrupted, I'll never get back.
No, so you can't even bring it home.
It's best not to bring it home.
It's best not to bring it home.
It's best just to be done with it and stop. And yeah. So I
maybe you could have gotten more grants or fellowships or no, if you did never stop? Or do you like that you had to stop?
Oh, yeah, of course I could have written more papers and written more proposals.
Do you think it's made you a better scientist to stop scientisting sometimes and go home and talk about art?
Interesting.
Instead of just a play, like you cut it off, you stop it.
Well, in one way, it made me a better scientist in that I don't think I could have sustainably kept up that pace, right? You need to do something else and you need to refresh.
Yes.
And then you need to come back and do it. And, going home or leaving the office at home and stopping and saying, oh, let's go play the piano, or let me make you a breakfast sandwich, or let's make dinner. You have a break and then you come back to it. So there's the sustainability argument.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's also like just a turn of focus. It's a different kind of curiosity that when I'm looking at work, I feel a different way. Or I'm looking and making, I feel a different way than when I go this other like, oh, yeah, let's go play in the sprinkler. Like I wouldn't play in the sprinkler. I would just work.
Right.
And I think that even though I get exhausted parenting a lot of the time, the sustainability factor, I don't think I would ever stop working if I didn't have another tiny human that I needed
a reason to stop. Yeah. A better reason to stop.
A better reason to stop. Yeah. When I feel that way when I'm looking at paintings, and I would do this with my kiddo, I would really stand in front of a painting, and I have a painting I've stood in front of for longer than any other painting, and it's the Joan of Arc painting at the Met in New York. And I just, where you can get into the layers of the paint, and then you start to imagine the brush. Like where you just, and then you forget about the brush, and then you're in the color, and then you're in the shade of the color, and then you're in right? And it just, and most people walk by the painting.
So for me,
or they take a picture of the painting.
In my life, I've never had that sort of experience with a painting in a museum. I've had that experience with some lichen growing on a rock. Yeah. I've had that experience with some desert grasses growing out of soil. Yeah. I've never been able to replicate that experience in a museum. And I don't know if it's the environment and how the museum environment impacts me.
Yeah, maybe it's more self-conscious because
or
there's
something
folks,
about the other people, or that security guard that's wondering what my kid is about to do to the painting over there.
As they should.
Yeah, as their job. Yep. But I'm going to try that the next time I have the chance. I'm just going to take everyone away and I'm going to look at the painting. Yeah. And I'm going to wait. And I'm going to try again.
And then try again. And wait till you get bored with it.
Yes, and then try again. I think that's why some people don't like jazz. Yeah. You have to do it, and then just keep doing it, and then you're like, wow, how did that just happen? Yeah. That can't just have happened.
But you got to stay in.
You got to stay in. You got to keep trying. Yeah. But I think that maybe first, what makes someone a good scientist, straight back to why are you a good scientist? Why are people successful? Is they're able to get drawn in either to their lab work or their computer programming or whatever it is. And for them, they can get to those little brush strokes on the painting layer by layer. Yeah. And it's their space where they're not bored.
And then they go in.
And they go in, yeah.
It's time to go into the quick and dirty.
Quick and dirty. Oh, I forgot about this.
I know. Are you ready? You're going to win.
Anxiety has just risen. Oh my God, the quick and dirty.
I know. I kind of already asked you this just because, the Muppets, but this is not about you. This is, do you have two favorite Muppets? Go.
Fozzie Bear and Beaker.
Oh my God, yes, to Beaker! Of course, Beaker, you're a scientist. That's hilarious. Okay, I want you to give me the name of a men's groundwater themed cologne that needs to exist. I forgot we wrote this one and then I was talking about those scents earlier. Come on, do it. Something
Must. Must, like musty.
I know, but and. You have to have and in it. Remember the rules? I didn't tell you the rules. I thought you knew because you've been a long-time listener, never before played.
You give me so much credit for
I know. Okay, here are the rules on the quick and dirty.
Okay. And.
You got to be quick. You don't have to be dirty. You got to say and, or the word has to have and in it, like sand and must.
That would have been a much better answer. Sand and must.
Sand and must.
Sand and must.
I'd like to phone a friend, Erika. Sand and must. I love playing this game. Okay, try it again, though. A men's cologne from the smell of deep earth.
Sand and must.
Two things that matter most as a parent.
Freedom and peace.
The title of your memoir.
Bureau of Reclamation, and the church.
Whoa. Now I have a whole other set of questions. Okay. The snacks that you have in your pack when you are in a snow pit.
Well, I want to say pecan sandies, but no. No. Chocolate-covered espresso beans and a protein bar.
Love. Okay, so you know that I hate you for getting to go to the T-Swift concert, right? So the first things you thought when you walked into the arena in Vegas for the T-Swift concert, the first two things, what was your...
Big and loud.
A lot of screaming.
But we got in a little bit early.
Okay.
So it was kind of in this awkward moment when the opening act was...
Who was opening up?
I don't remember now. Yeah,
It's too bad because we were all excited for T-Swift. Okay, your jazz band name.
Wilson and Friends.
Is that legit? Real? Or did you just make that up?
I made it up. Yeah, what did
You just said it like it really was your band name.
Yeah, but it totally is in my mind. Yeah. So Wilson,
Yeah.
he plays the upright bass.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's only in my mind because Wilson is a 20-pound Havanese dog. He's more of a Muppet than me, but I can picture him leaning over the bass and it's just his personality. He would just lay down that bass line and it would be going and it would have that feel. So Wilson and Friends, and then other people would be playing, but I can just picture it. I can see it. Wilson and Friends.
You need to draw that. Okay.
I have drawn it.
You have drawn it.
I've had computers draw it for me.
You've had.
Yes.
I know. I love.
And I will send you the picture of Wilson playing the upright bass.
Okay.
And Rachel, older daughter, playing the tenor saxophone, as envisioned by ChatGPT. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
For a birthday card.
It's amazing. All right. You're going to give a blessing. You're going to send someone off into the world. Could be a kid, could be a graduating class. It could be someone on an expedition. And I wish for you and may and go.
The space and time and freedom to explore what excites you the most without the pressures of everyone saying this and that and this and that.
I want that.
It would be great.
It would be great.
Is that what retirement is? I don't think so.
That was Eric Small, professor of earth sciences at CU Boulder, on the Ampersand. For more on Eric's research, creative work, and things not boring, see our show notes. The Ampersand is a production of the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Colorado Boulder. It is written and produced by me, Erika Randall, and Tim Grassley. If there are people you'd like us to interview on the Ampersand, do please email us at asinfo@colorado.edu. Our theme music was composed and performed by Nelson Walker, and the episodes are recorded at Interplay Recording in Boulder, Colorado. I'm Erika Randall, and this is the Ampersand.